Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's video will be part one of a two-part sublimation mini-series. I will be sublimating a mug and we are going to start here in Design Space. So let's get into the video. Okay guys, before we get started, I just want to mention I am a bit hoarse today. So if my voice is going in and out or cracking or sounds a bit more raspier than it normally does, that's why. So I'm going to click on upload. Here's my image and I'm going to click add to canvas. It comes in really big. I'm going to go up here to size and go into the width and change that to 3.25. And this template is called Mug Design Setup. So in the home section, you can type that in the search box, and there you can get a template for a 12-ounce mug or a 15-ounce mug. And today I am using the 12-ounce template. So I'm going to move this here. I kind of want to make sure that my design is about centered with this invisible dotted line going here. And I'm also going to duplicate this because I do want the design on both sides of the mug, and I'm going to do the same here to try to line it up as best as I can. And then I'm going to click on both of them, go up to align and click on align bottom. Now they are the same height, and I'm going to click attach. So this template, of course, this is not something that we would be printing or using. This is just for measurement purposes, making sure everything is where it's supposed to be. So you can click on hide. And I want to hide this as well. However, you can keep this background area. Most people may want to change it to the color that of their choice, because technically if you print it, it will print with this color in the background. But if you want your mug to remain white, you can just click on this and change the color to white. I won't be using my Cricut to cut this out, but if you did want your Cricut to cut out this perfect rectangle, this is how you would do it. So I'm gonna drag over everything and click on flatten. So now we're ready to make it. Let's click on make. If your sublimation paper is letter size, this would be perfect. You can move it over to center it if you'd like. You want to make sure you mirror it, but my sublimation paper is legal size, so I want to change it. I'm going to center this and I am going to click on continue. I'll show you why I'm not clicking on mirror here. Continue, send to printer. I'm going to turn off the bleed. I don't need it, but I do want to click use system dialog and print. So it all pops up. My sublimation printer is my Epson. I do have a preset to sublimation, and when I click on sublimation, it immediately flips the design here. That's why I didn't click on mirror in the matte screen. So this also changes the media quality to photo matte paper and best. Now you see how this is broken up here. I'm just gonna click here and then click on legal, and that fixes everything. And then I will click print. Okay, the design is printed and I'm going to cut off the registration lines with my scissors. If you don't need a perfect shape, cutting it on your own instead of using the Cricut works just fine. I haven't found many instances where I absolutely needed to use the Cricut for cutting my sublimation images. So I would say assess the project and determine if it's necessary. The name of the sublimation paper I use is A-Sub. Remember, when you're sublimating, you need sublimation paper, a sublimation blank. The mug I'm using today is by Make Market, which is sold at Michael's. and you need sublimation ink. I will link all of these items in the description box below. I'm going to bring in my cup cradle and remove the store tag from the mug. Then clean the mug with rubbing alcohol because I do see some dirt and debris on the mug that most likely got there from sitting on the store shelves. When sublimating, you want to get your blank as clean and lint-free as possible. You'll see here in a moment that I also pull out my lint roller. The cleaning process is a step in sublimation that you never want to skip because your project will most likely have unwanted blue dots on it. It's something that happens to the lint during the sublimation process. So if you take nothing else from this video, take this tip because it's super important. The mug is clean and ready for the design to be applied. Using heat-resistant tape, I'm going to cover the entire design with tape. I promise you, it's going to look like an excessive amount of tape being used. But whenever I sublimate mugs, I always use more tape than the average person. I've tried several times to use a little less, and I feel like my projects have suffered every time. But fun fact, when I sublimate t-shirts, I try to use as little tape as possible. So I guess it just depends on what I'm sublimating. Time to do the other side. If you're sublimating a mug or tumbler, lay your design down as taut as you can. You don't want there to be any gaps between the paper and the blank. It will cause ghosting or fading and an undesired finished project. The mug is ready to be pressed. I'm going to bring in my mug press and get it turned on and heat it up for pressing. Okay, the mug press is hot and ready to go. So I'm going to put the mug inside, being very careful because it's really hot in there. Then push down the lever and let the mug press do the work. The chime and the 5 blinking lights above the power button indicates that it is done and ready to be taken out of the press. I'm going to carefully take this out because it is piping hot. From what I can see, it's looking good so far. Bringing in my heat mat, I'm going to let the mug rest here as it cools down and move the heat press off to the side. So I know I just said I was going to let the mug cool down, but I grabbed my heat resistant gloves instead so I could reveal the project sooner than later. But if you don't have heat resistant gloves, please wait for it to cool down. It would be way too hot to handle at this point without them. If you didn't do the excessive tape method, you would want to cover your design with butcher paper to protect your press from the ink bleeding. Can you see the ink on the tape? This is why I said butcher paper is necessary if you don't put as much tape as I do. Yes, that came out so nice. Now let's do the other side. Both sides came out wonderfully. By taking your time, making sure your design is adhered to your blank as perfect as you can get it, and taping your design down well will give you awesome results. I love how this turned out. Classy and crafty. Thank you all for tuning into today's video. I hope you enjoyed it, learned a little bit about sublimation, or it inspired you to give it a try. If you don't have a sublimation printer, you can always use infusible ink sheets. And you can also find some that have multiple colors on one sheet. If you've been on the fence about purchasing a sublimation printer, you can do what I did and get an Epson Eco Tank and fill it with sublimation ink instead of the ink that comes with the printer. But keep in mind, you cannot use a printer that already has ink in it. If you're looking for any of the products I used in this video, you can find them down below in the description box. Don't forget, this is part 1 of a 2-part mini-series, so I'll be back with part 2 next week. In the meantime, I would love it if you would hit the like button, leave a comment down below, and subscribe if you haven't already. It helps my channel greatly, and please know that you are appreciated. Until next time, later guys.